Good evening and happy Veterans Day at Millennium Stage. At this time, we would like to thank all of our veterans in the audience and watching online. And now, please give a warm welcome to the United States Coast Guard Dixieland Band.
Look out, folks. I'm going to play a trombone coda.
Well, good evening, Kennedy Center. How's everybody doing out there tonight? Oh, I can't hear you. This is a New Orleans time tonight. Thank you very much. We are the United States Coast Guard Dixieland Band, and we are so happy to be here. Man, it is just packed all the way from front to back. Can you guys hear me all the way back at the other stage where I see you guys? This is absolutely just an awesome crowd. Right on. So us being the United States Coast Guard Dixieland Jazz Band, we needed to start this concert out on this cold night with some hot New Orleans music. So we did a set of 3 to start out. And the first tune, you probably recognize it, is the Bourbon Street. The next tune was the Basin Street Blues with our own Jack Teagarden, Sean Nelson, playing the trombone. And of course, we just had to finish that 3-song set with the famous West End Blues with our own Louis Armstrong, Mr. Bryce Call. I'd like to introduce the members of the band. On the drums, we have musician first class, Nathan Lassell. On the piano, musician first class, Robert Langslet. On the clarinet and soprano saxophone, he's getting there. Give him a big congratulations. Chief Musician Select, Cedric Mayfield. Announced him before. Chief Musician Sean Nelson on the trombone, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, on the trumpet, you just met him, musician first class, Bryce Call. I am Senior Chief Musician Mark McCormick on the bass. So this being 2017, I'm not sure if anybody knew this, but 1917 was the very first time that jazz music was recorded. And so the original Dixieland Jazz Band went down to the Columbia Studios in New York City at the Woolworth building, and they recorded 2 sides. Indiana, which was the hit tune of the day, and another tune, Darktown Strutter's Ball. And it was a quick session because nobody had really ever heard jazz before. They just thought it might be a nice idea to record it. And the engineers went crazy, and not crazy in a good way. They couldn't figure the music out. And the session ended abruptly, and they went back up to Columbus Circle to where they played, and they went back and played for the crowds, and everybody loved it so much, and they recorded again up there, and the rest is history, as they say. So one of the things that you did back then was you called every tune a blues, regardless if it was the form of a blues or whatever it was. So this next tune we're going to play is called the Bye Bye Blues, but don't be fooled, because it's not necessarily a blues. So here is the Bye Bye Blues. Bye Bye Blues. Could you guys hear us all the way back there? Way in the back? Can you hear us back there? Excellent. That's what we like. So it's been a pretty tough hurricane season, and I'd be remiss if we didn't mention that and all the amazing work that our fellow Coast Guardsmen are doing. For example, in Houston, the Coast Guard saved over 10,000 people in need. And in Florida as well, when the Floridians and our citizens of the United States needed us, we were there for them as well, saving thousands of them who were in peril in that terrible hurricane as well. And lastly, in Puerto Rico, the work that the Coast Guard has been doing to help our fellow citizens down there in Puerto Rico has just been absolutely amazing. And we had a chance to visit Puerto Rico a few years ago, and we played the Dixie Band. We played in a little town that was way across the island from San Juan. It was a town called Aguadilla. Does anybody know it? Hands? Just a beautiful, classic town, very old. If you can picture this, had the town was basically built around the town square. And we had the opportunity to play in the town square, and it was quite amazing because we played in the middle of the afternoon, and it was hot, and there were a lot of people there, but as we kept playing, it was amazing how many people started opening up their windows in the town square and coming out to the town square, and basically by the end of the set, we had everybody dancing in the town square, and it was just one of the most amazing sights that we've ever seen as the Dixieland Jazz Band. And it really speaks to the very musical culture that is Puerto Rico. There is such a musical history there, just from everything. It's just amazing. Great musician, one of the most phenomenal musicians in Western music. Pablo Casals had his music festival there for years. And all kinds of music. It's just such a prolific atmosphere, just any style of music, and just a very highly educated population that listens very closely to good music. And there was a great trombonist out of Puerto Rico, and he played with the Duke Ellington Band, and his name was Mr. Juan Tizol. And we'd like to dedicate this song to Puerto Rico, to Florida, to Houston, to our fellow Coast Guardsmen out there who rescued those in peril. This tune called Caravan.
Caravan, ladies and gentlemen, composed by Mr. Juan Tizal. That was chief musician Sean Nelson on the trombone. Musician first class Bryce Call on the trumpet. Chief musician select Cedric Mayfield on the soprano saxophone there. How about that? Musician first class Robert Langston on the piano. And with that great drum solo, musician first class Nathan Lassell on the drums. We, as members of the United States Coast Guard Band, are very proud to be playing in this historic venue, the Kennedy Center, tonight on Veterans Day. Veterans Day has a special meaning in all of our hearts up here on stage. My grandfather fought in World War I and often talked about the end of that day, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, and the amount of relief that the troops on the front line had at that moment that the Great War was finally over. We'd like to pay tribute now to all of our veterans, and if you have served, or you know anybody who has served, or you have a family member who has served, we are going to play the service medley now, and we would like you to stand and be recognized as your service song is played. Happy Veterans Day out there, everyone. From your United States Coast Guard Dixieland Band. One more time, can we have all our veterans just stand and be recognized? Thank you for your service. Well, we are just having a blast up here playing for everybody. Way, way in the back. Can you still hear us way back there? Oh, this is excellent. This is absolutely excellent. We got this next tune for you. It's called The Farewell Blues. The Farewell Blues. Well, we absolutely could not get away tonight playing in this gorgeous Millennium Stage and the lobby of the Kennedy Center without paying tribute to one of the most famous musicians the world has ever known and who grew up here right in Washington, D.C. We're going to play kind of a beautiful, lesser-known tune of his. I'm speaking about the Duke, Mr. Duke Ellington. And we'd like to play for you just this hauntingly beautiful tune called The Creole Love Call. The Creole Love Song by the great Duke Ellington. Well, thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out on this celebration of Veterans Day. We are the United States Coast Guard Dixieland Jazz Band. Thank you. And on the drums, musician first class, Nathan Lassell. On the piano, musician first class, Robert Langslet. On the trumpet, musician first class, Bryce Call. Chief musician select, Cedric Mayfield on the soprano saxophone and clarinet. Chief musician, Sean Nelson on the trombone. I am senior chief musician, Mark McCormick on the bass. Special shout out and thanks. Everybody turn around in the front and everybody in the back. Give them a big round of applause. Chief musician, Robert Holtorf, our miracle sound engineer. We've got time for one more, probably the most famous tune in Western music that we like to think. Maybe not that, but the most famous tune in jazz music, definitely. I'm sure you know it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We are the United States Coast Guard Dixieland Jazz Band. Cedric Mayfield, soprano saxophone, clarinet. Bryce Call, trumpet. Sean Nelson, trombone. Robert Langslet, piano. Nathan Lassell, drums. I am Mark McCormick on the bass. Thanks so much, everybody. Happy Veterans Day. We'll see you soon. One more bow.
Thank you for joining us at the Millennium Stage. As we prepare for another performance, we ask that you help